Oh, hello! Today we are doing an update to my classics collection bookshelf tour. Now, this is going to be an interesting video in terms of style editing because I wanted to do an update, but just like timing wise, I was like, I don't think I have time to film and edit every single book in my classics collection again. So what I'm doing is I'm going to repurpose some footage from my last classics collection for the books that were there last time. And then I am going to be interpolating some additional footage of things that I have acquired since that last video was filmed. So my last one, I think I filmed in October-ish of 2019. Now I'm filming this update in November of 2021. So there will be different lighting. I also have gotten some bookshelf lights that you will see. Yeah, there's just a few changes, but I assume that there will be a little bit of difference between kind of like the sound quality, the lighting, etc. So that is what that is. I'm also going to include a few clips I filmed for that collection video, answering some questions that I get asked most frequently about the Penguin Clothbound collection and some concerns people have. Obviously, that is my favorite collection. You will see in this video that it's clear that I like that. I mean, hello, my new merch is literally like an homage to that line, but I know that some people have some concerns, so I will put in a few clips of that. So first of all, one of the main comments that I get whenever people are looking at my Penguin Clothbound classics is I get a lot of comments about people who are not thrilled with quality on them or asking about what the quality on them is like. So the common things that I see people mentioning on Penguin Clothbound Classics are that the pages do not stay in well and that the design on the cover, so like this piece, fades quickly over time. Those are the main things I see. And you know, these pages are glued in, so they are not sewn in. So that means the best quality ones will always have the pages actually sewn in. I hear that. I will tell you from my personal experience, I have not had problems with these books falling apart even when I've read them, like when I've actually used them as my reading copy, and I have not noticed any noticeable fading on any of them as they've come in and out of my bookshelves. That has not been my experience. I have seen enough comments that I would like to bring that to your attention if you are considering investing in these editions, that some people do have quality issues with them. So I just want to put that out there. Some people are really unhappy with the quality here. That has not been my personal experience. Therefore, I feel comfortable continuing to recommend these, and I love them. So of course I display them proudly. I enjoy them, but just know that that is something that people have very strong feelings about and is a sort of buyer beware kind of thing. And I'm also going to be including my Agatha Christie collection into this video as well. So originally I had those as two separate ones. This is gonna be one big mashup, and I'm gonna have a bunch of timestamps below to help you navigate through the video in case you want to look for a specific collection, or if you just wanna skip something, that will be below. And anything else I need to tell you before we get into this? I guess just that I do love collecting classics. I love the way that they look. They're a really big part of my home's decor. I mean, even just in my office, you can see like my non-classics collection, the bookshelves. It's a part of the overall ambiance of my home. And to me, book reading and book collecting are two different hobbies. I am somebody who really enjoys doing both, but obviously one does not need to own beautiful editions of books to enjoy books. Pre-me being pretty settled in this house, I had my book collection pared back significantly. So yeah, anyway, just caveat there. Yeah, I'll try to also link some of the like bookshelf and book light stuff that you're gonna see in the description box if you're curious about where I've gotten any of that. All of those, or most of those, will probably be affiliate links, so just FYI there. Without further ado, I guess I will throw you to the collection. Alrighty, so this is the overall view of my bookcase, and there is Hastings walking across in front of them. I have them lit up right now so that you can get the full effect of the lighting that we have in place. But basically, the overall division of these bookcases is that the top three rows are dominated by Penguin Clothbound Classics and my Agatha Christie collection. So you can see that the top middle shelf is an Agatha Christie shelf going into the shelf to its right. And then I also have Agatha Christie on the bottom, middle, and right shelves. Then I have kind of like random assorted collections on the second from the bottom shelves on the left and right hand side. I have my red Everyman's Library collection in the middle shelf from the second to the bottom shelf, and then I have my black Everyman's Library spines on the bottom left shelf. So that's just orienting you to like the overall collections here. And with that being said, let's zoom in. You will see old footage from my last time that I did this video interspersed with with newer footage for new books that have come into the collection, and I hope you enjoy. A Confederacy of Dunces, John Kennedy Toole. Jude the Obscure, Thomas Hardy. Wuthering Heights, Emily Bronte. Leagues Under the Sea, Jules Verne. Emma, Jane Austen. The Day of the Triffids, John Wyndham. The Odyssey, Homer. The Sonnets and A Lover's Complaint, William Shakespeare. Tales from 1001 Nights. The Travels, Marco Polo. Northanger Abbey, Jane Austen. Lady Chatterley's Lover, D.H. Lawrence. Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. The Jungle Books by Rudyard Kipling. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. Wide Sargasso Sea by Jean Rhys. The Pearl by John Steinbeck. The Hound of the Baskervilles by Arthur Conan Doyle. Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Dracula by Bram Stoker. Villette by Charlotte Bronte. Hard Times by Charles Dickens. David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. Remembrance of Things Past, Volume 2 by Marcel Proust. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Love and Friendship and Other Youthful Writings by Jane Austen. Has that famous misspelling of friendship, which, now that I've pointed it out to you, you will never be able to unsee, just as I now am never able to unsee it. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. The Portrait of a Lady by Henry James. The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Metamorphosis by Ovid. Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I should note that I have the charcoal gray background, but there is also an edition with the cream background that I would love to get my grubby little hands on. Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. Sanditon by Jane Austen. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. The Iliad by Homer. Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. The Mayor of Casterbridge by Thomas Hardy. Inferno by Dante. Far from the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy. Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh. Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes, and this is my current favorite cover in the series. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. Orlando by Virginia Woolf. A Christmas Carol and Other Christmas Writings by Charles Dickens. Persuasion by Jane Austen. Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Naked Lunch by William S. Burroughs. Remembrance of Things Past, Volume 3 by Marcel Proust. Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Bleak House by Charles Dickens. Paradise Lost by John Milton. The Ring of the Nibelung by Richard Wagner. Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. Remembrance of Things Past, Volume 1. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. And finally, Middlemarch by George Eliot. Next up, we are going to do my Penguin Clothbound Classic Philosophy edition. So you will notice that in this series of the Clothbound Classics, that there is this sort of two-toned quality to every single one of the editions. Before I bought these, I wondered if that was a function of just photography of pictures I was seeing of them, or what it was. I do just want you guys to know that there is a top third, a slightly different coloration than the bottom third. So we'll start here with the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Frederick Engels. Essays and Aphorisms by Arthur Schopenhauer. Beyond Good and Evil by Friedrich Nietzsche. Confessions by St. Augustine. Civilization and Its Discontents by Sigmund Freud. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Fear and Trembling by Soren Kierkegaard. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Letters from a Stoic by Seneca. The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. The next, and I think the final collection you're seeing for the Penguin Clothbound Classics is the Penguin Clothbound Classics Poetry Editions. So we will start at the top and work our way down. Songs of Innocence and Experience by William Blake. Lamia, Isabella, The Eve of St. Agnes and Other Poems by John Keats. The Lyrical Ballads by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. The Tower by W.B. Yeats. And this is probably my favorite cover in this collection. Goblin Market and Other Poems by Christina Rossetti. Poems by Wilfred Owen. Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. The Temple by George Herbert. The Lonely Londoners by Sam Selvin. Grimm's Tales for Young and Old, edited by Philip Pullman. The Aeneid by Virgil. Monkey King by Wu Qingyun. The Mahabharata. Animal Farm by George Orwell. Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. 1984 by George Orwell. Utopia by Thomas More. The Narrow Road to the Deep North by Matsuo Basho. A Vindication of the Rights of Woman by Mary Wollstonecraft. And just a side note that none of the 3 latest additions to the philosophy line have that two-tone quality to them. That was something that they did for the original run, but not the new ones. And any new prints of the original line will also not have that two-tone quality. So just a collector's note there. A Stropshire Lad by A.E. Housman. Wessex Poems by Thomas Hardy. The Penguin Book of Christmas Stories, edited by Jessica Harrison. The Golden Age of British Short Stories, 1890 to 1914, edited by Philip Hinsher. Note that this particular volume, while it is designed by Corley Bigford Smith, is notably taller than the main Penguin Classics line. So, just a note for the clothbound collectors out there. And literally the day before this was going to go up, I got one last entry in the series. This is the latest release in the Penguin Clothbound Classic collection, and that is The Little Prince by Antoine Saint-Exupéry. Next, I have 3 entries in the Macmillian Collector's Library series. The Third Man and Other Stories by Graham Greene. The Ministry of Fear by Graham Greene. North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. And I apologize, guys, just trying to get the light right here. This is gold text, and then you can also see that there are gold edges on this edition, but I know that a little washed out in this lighting. Next, we have my Pulp the Classics series, which there's not very many of them, but this is a series of classics that take inspiration from the kind of pulpy covers of the early part of the 20th century. So I have 4 of those. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. 3 Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome. And I sincerely hope that is a pen name, because otherwise his mother hated him. I have 3 editions from the Library of America, so we will run through these. Collected Stories and Other Writings by Catherine Porter. Wise Blood, A Good Man is Hard to Find. The Violent Bear It Away, Everything That Rises Must Converge, and Essays and Letters by Flannery O'Connor. The Lottery, The Haunting of Hill House, We Have Always Lived in the Castle, and Other Stories and Sketches by Shirley Jackson. So now we're looking at my Everyman's Library Classics collection, and I have a lot of red spines. Those are my preferred editions, which is what we're looking at right now, but I will also show you the ones that I have in the black spine. F. Scott Fitzgerald, This Side of Paradise. The Remains of the Day by Kazu Ishiguro. Dubliners by James Joyce. Possession by A.S. Byatt. A Room with a View and Where Angels Fear to Tread by E.M. Forster. The Everyman Chesterton by G.K. Chesterton. The Maltese Falcon, The Thin Man, and Red Harvest by Dashiell Hammett. The Best of Wodehouse, an anthology by P.G. Wodehouse. The Human Factor by Graham Greene. The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. The Girls of Slender Means. The Driver's Seat, and The Only Problem by Muriel Spark. The Bloody Chamber
Wise Children and Fireworks by Angela Carter, Howard's End by E.M. Forster, The Stranger by Albert Camus, The Good Soldier by Ford Madox Ford, To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, Panin by Vladimir Nabokov, The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco, Animal Farm by George Orwell, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, Essays by George Orwell. So then moving into the black spines, so they all look like this from when they are facing out on the shelf. First we have Agnes Grey and the Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte, The Divine Comedy, which is Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso by Dante Alighieri, The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. Here we have an example of what some of the older ones look like in this line. So this one is Candide and Other Stories from Voltaire, The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo, Shirley and the Professor by Charlotte Bronte, Plays, Prose Writings, and Poems by Oscar Wilde, Les Liaisons Dangereuses by Chodelot de Laclos, The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins, and this is probably my favorite cover in either the black or the red spine lines. The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky, The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton, and finally The Double and the Gambler by Fyodor Dostoevsky. So now we have my Picador Modern Classics. There are 4 of them. Slouching Towards Bethlehem by Joan Didion, Housekeeping by Marilyn Robinson, Nickel and Dimed by Barbara Ehrenreich, Regarding the Pain of Others by Susan Sontag. Next we have my British Crime Library / Poison Pen editions, depending on if they are published in the UK or the US. They have slightly different publishers, but they are all the same line of golden age of detective fiction authors and their most notable titles. Mystery in White by J. Jefferson Farjeon, Seven Dead by J. Jefferson Farjeon, Murder at the Manor, edited by Martin Edwards, 13 Guests by J. Jefferson Farjeon, The Santa Claus Murder by Mavis Dorrell Hay, The Cheltenham Square Murder by John Bood, Portrait of a Murderer, A Christmas Crime Story by Anne Meredith. And then I have 4 of the Penguin Drop Caps editions. I don't necessarily see myself getting a ton more of these, but just know that there are, well, I guess it'd be 26 of them, because there's one for each letter of the alphabet. The Greek Coffin Mystery by Ellery Queen, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce, An Artist of the Floating World by Kazu Ishiguro, Lord of the Flies by William Golding. Then I have the 4 Puffin and Bloom editions, A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett, Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery, Heidi by Joanna Spiri, which is the book that got me into reading, so it is also very precious to my heart, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I have 3 remaining Black Spine paperback Penguin classics. As you guys probably know, my preference is for the hardbacks, but I do have these 3 paperbacks left in my collection. Revelations of Divine Love by Julian of Norwich, Eichmann in Jerusalem, A Report on the Banality of Evil by Hannah Arendt, Loving, Living, and Party Going by Henry Green. Then I have almost the entire collection of Virago Modern Classics that they released as a part of their 40th anniversary. The only one I do not have is Nora Ephron's Heartburn, and that is because I already own that in a different edition, so at the time I didn't want to get it. My completion self is thinking maybe I need to do that. We will see. Fire from Heaven by Mary Renault, Frost in May by Antonia White, Memento Mori by Muriel Spark, Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, The Magic Toy Shop by Angela Carter, Faces in the Water by Janet Frame, The Weather in the Streets by Rosamund Lehman, The Collected Stories by Grace Paley, A View of the Harbor by Elizabeth Taylor, though not that Elizabeth Taylor, Deep Water by Patricia Highsmith, The Return of the Soldier by Rebecca West, The Dud Avocado by Elaine Dundee. I have 3 hardback Virago Modern Classic editions by Daphne du Maurier. I have Rebecca, I have Jamaica Inn, and I have My Cousin Rachel. I have read all three of these and they are all great. And then the other Virago modern classic in hardback I have is Excellent Women by Barbara Pym. This is the 30th anniversary edition. And then I have a hardback Penguin Classics edition of the 6 books in Anthony Trollope's Barsetshire series. So we have The Warden by Anthony Trollope, Barchester Tower, The Last Chronicle of Barset, Dr. Thorne, Framley Parsonage, and The Small Home at Allington. And then I have started building my Everyman's Library Pocket Poets collection. This is one I'm actively building right now as I see them go on sale, etc. So we'll run through these, but first of all, I wanted to show you the spines because that's probably my favorite part of these is the cool spines each edition has. The Four Seasons by various poets, the poems of Emily Dickinson, the poems of T.S. Eliot, poems Bewitched and Haunted, war poems, the poems of Samuel Taylor Coleridge, the poems of Alexander Pope, the poems of W.H. Auden, the poems of John Donne, killer verse, poems of Murder and Mayhem by various poets, poems by Robert Frost, The Great Cat, poems about cats, and for those wondering, shockingly, there are no T.S. Eliot Cats poems in here. The poems of Wallace Stevens, the poems of George Herbert, the poems of Robert and Elizabeth Barrett Browning, the poems of Gerard Manley Hopkins. Okay, so we're now in the random classics arena of this video. So first we'll do some Salinger. So first we have The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, Franny and Zooey by J.D. Salinger, Raise High the Roof Beams, Carpenters, and Seymour, an Introduction by J.D. Salinger, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, The Power and the Glory by Graham Greene, The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway, Maurice by E.M. Forster. I will mention that I think that the British pronunciation of this is Morris, and I just can't get myself there. So for me, this is Maurice. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I just wanted to note that this particular edition is designed by Coralie Bigford Smith, who is also the designer of the Penguin Clothbound Classics. Castle Rackrent by Maria Edgeworth. The Major Works, including all the poems and select prose by Gerard Manley Hopkins. I keep this one primarily for those selected prose passages. The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers. Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, and this is an edition given to me by my grandmother, so this is one that is very sentimentally precious to me. Yalaladin by Rafi. 'Tis Pity She's a Whore by John Ford. Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. The Complete Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This has got a nice drop case on it, and then it's a cloth-bound hardback inside. Beowulf, a new translation by Maria Devana Headley. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This is the Litjoy Crate edition, and this is the slip cover, like the hard case slip cover, and then this is the actual book. It does have gold edges, as well as a few illustrations throughout. Stoner by John Williams. Okay, so now we can dive into the crown jewel of my Agatha Christie collection. In terms of the overall collection, there's some of these that are more beautiful, but in terms of the overall line, this is definitely my preferred edition that I collect in, and that is the Facsimile editions, which recreate the original Collins Crime Club covers, which I believe were in the UK. So these are all facsimiles of the original UK edition. And part of what I love about these is that you get to see over time, because she wrote from, the 20s to the 70s, the evolution of cover trends and cover design. So anyway, yeah, I just love that edition so much. It's definitely my favorite. So first up here we have Agatha Christie After the Funeral, Appointment with Death, Death on the Nile, The 13 Problems, Poirot Investigates, Hercule Poirot's Christmas by Agatha Christie. This is one of my favorite covers in the collection. Murder on the Orient Express, And Then There Were None, The Murder at the Vicarage, Sleeping Murder by Agatha Christie, and you can see it says Miss Marple's Last Case, and so this is well into the 70s, and it is very reflective of its time. Crooked House, Sparkling Cyanide by Agatha Christie, and I think that this is my favorite in the collection in terms of covers. The Mysterious Affair at Styles. This was her first novel she ever published, and it's got this painterly, very 20s vibe to it. Cards on the table. Curtain, Poirot's Last Case, Dumb Witness, Come Tell Me How You Live, and here her name is listed as Agatha Christie Mallowan. That is reflecting her second husband's last name, which makes sense because this is an autobiography of her time with her second husband in the Middle East on archaeological digs. The Big Four, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, The Secret of the Chimneys, The Body in the Library, Lord Edgware Dies, and last but not least of my facsimile editions, here is the Seven Dials Mystery. Okay, and then I do have these two period facsimile editions that are not in the regular Collins Crime Club editions. These were, from what I can tell, movie tie-ins. The Detective Club is the little brand. You can see the little guy with the gun pointing at you on both. And I have to tell you, so on the left is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, which is very cool. You can see the spine here, and then pictures from the movie that it is a tie-in to on the back. It's cool. I first found these in London when I was there, and then I ordered this from Book Depository after I found this one. The Big Four, which is not one of her better books, though I have a lot of personal affection for, this is one of my very favorite covers I have ever owned. Like, this guy, the woman on the cover, cringing, and then Poirot looking all dapper on the back. I just love these. Okay, and then I have 4 of these HarperCollins UK editions, and all 4 of these have some, are Agatha Christie books that have some kind of reference to a train. I think that is the common theme here. These came out in 2019, I believe, or maybe in 2018, and I really would love it if they would release more, because I think these are very beautiful. The Mystery of the Blue Train, The ABC Murders, Murder on the Orient Express, and 450 from Paddington. And this one is probably my favorite of the 4. But all 4 are beautiful. They're some of my very favorite books that I own. And then this is a facsimile of a book that Agatha Christie contributed to, but, you know, wasn't the sole author of, and that is Ask a Policeman by the members of the Detection Club, including Dorothy L. Sayers and Gladys Mitchell, and like I said, prefaced by Agatha Christie, but not primarily by her. You guys often see these in my videos, but these are 2 faux leather-bound Barnes & Noble's editions. So the one on the left is the Murder on the Orient Express and Other Hercule Poirot Mysteries. This is what it looks like from the side. And then that is what it looks like from the back. As you can see, it lists out the 3 books in here, which are Murder on the Orient Express, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, and Curtain, Poirot's Last Case. Both of these editions have very nice gilded edges to them. On the right is And Then There Were None and Other Classic Mysteries by Agatha Christie. This is what it looks like from the side. And then this is what it looks like from the back, and you can see that it has And Then There Were None, Crooked House, and Endless Night in it. Okay, so this is ye oldie time copy of the Seven Dials Mystery. So you can see nothing really fun on the cover, but a really cool spine. And a random copy of By the Pricking of My Thumbs. I just loved kind of the old-timey cover when I saw it at the used bookstore. Okay, and then I have a whole collection of these Bantam faux leather editions, and this is one that I only pick up when I see them randomly at a used bookstore. Like, that's sort of the joy of finding them, and they all look the exact same on the front. They have the Agatha Christie Mystery Collection little faux gold embossing on the faux leather, and then they all look very handsome here together on a shelf. I'm just going to run down the line of these because they all do look exactly the same on the front. And so I've got Funerals Are Fatal by Agatha Christie, also known as After the Funeral, The ABC Murders, The Seven Dials Mystery, The Underdog and Other Stories, Why Didn't They Ask Evans, Witness for the Prosecution, Sad Cypress, Murder in 3 Acts, which is also known as 3-Act Tragedy, They Came to Baghdad, Poirot Investigates, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, The Murder at the Vicarage, and Double Sin and Other Stories. So starting the collection of books about Agatha Christie, and then just random one-off editions of her books that are not in a collection. First up, we've got the detective novels of Agatha Christie, A Reader's Guide by James Zimboy, which is one that I very much enjoy. The new Bedside, Bathtub, and Armchair Companion to Agatha Christie. Agatha, The Real Life of Agatha Christie by Anne Marinetti, Guillaume Lebeau, and Alexandre Franck, a graphic novel biography. Agatha Christie, an autobiography, which I highly recommend. Curtain Up, Agatha Christie, A Life in the Theater. The Golden Age of Murder by Martin Edwards. Agatha Christie's Secret Notebooks by John Curran. Masteries in Miniature, The Detectives. This is a collection of Agatha Christie short stories that I don't think is in print anymore, which is a real shame because I actually think it's a very nice roundup or collection of all of her different detectives and their best short stories. Come Tell Me How You Live. Murder at the Manor, which includes Crooked House, Ordeal by Innocence, and The Seven Dials Mystery. Poirot and Me by David Suchet, which is an autobiography of his time playing Poirot. The Grand Tour, Letters and Photographs from the British Empire Expedition by Agatha Christie, which was edited by her grandson Matthew Pritchard, and is a kind of roundup of the great world tour that she went on with her first husband, I think shortly after they were married. Endless Night by Agatha Christie, but this is a graphic novel version that was adapted by Francois Rivière and illustrated by Frank Leclerc. The Moving Finger, Death on the Nile, The Man in the Brown Suit, the complete Miss Marple short stories. This is an older Folio Society edition that I believe is no longer in print. One of my subscribers very kindly sent this to me as a gift. She picked it up at a secondhand shop for 1 loonie, so I didn't feel too guilty accepting it. But it does have the lovely slipcover, as well as the super cute kind of allusion to a tweed design on the hardback itself. I'm very thankful to have this. Hercule Poirot's Christmas, and Then There Were None. And I think that does it. I will throw you back to the studio. And welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the updates to my collection. And yeah, I'm very fortunate to have the time, resources, and space to have a really lovely collection of classics. And I really, really enjoy them. I'm very thankful for them and I very much enjoy them. So I hope you enjoyed seeing them. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below. And I think that will do it. I hope you're having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!